Your mind can be the thing that moves you forward in life, or it could be the thing that holds you back. And today I'm going to show you exactly what that means and how to create a beautiful, powerful mind that serves your purpose and your greater desires in life. If you and I have not met yet, my name is Troy Fontana, and my goal is to help you just 10x your results in life. And there's health, wealth, and relationships. I'm an author, speaker, and coach, and I've been talking about these concepts and more for the last 2 decades. And more importantly, I've gone through this journey myself. Now, mindset is something that's super near and dear to my heart. It's a lot of the coaching that I do. There's a massive misconception on what it means to be like, have a strong mindset. We hear all these things like, oh, if I had a stronger mindset, or if I did this. I work with a lot of athletes and they say, oh, I got competition anxiety. I just need to do more of it. These are all true, right? And also there's a much better way to go about this. And I want to show you this today in this video. Now, when you understand these concepts, your mind calms down. You become more centered. Your thoughts calm down, and your mind actually becomes an asset, and it can start to work for you, literally creating the reality that you desire. But if not, think of it like this chaotic water, right? These massive waves crashing, this chaotic landscape within the mind, and then your mind actually starts to work against you. It can literally push you down. It can push you down not only from a mental standpoint, but an energetic standpoint. See, what I've learned in myself, and I've learned with working with people for the last 2 decades, is that a chaotic mind, a loud, like those, think of again, waves in the ocean, a chaotic mindset, it comes with a lot of chaotic thoughts. It's like this internal dialogue that's telling you defeating things. And these defeating things start to peck at you over time. They start to lower your confidence. And then the decisions you make start to change. The behaviors you show up with change. The quality of your decisions and actions change over time. And think of it as this long, everything has a ROI, or return on your investment, right? Or a compounding effect. Everything has a compounding effect. And so think of this cascading, like downward thinking, this downward way of thinking. What does that slowly do and slowly erode over time? And what is the results that produces? And so if you can, these powerful tricks, these concepts I'm going to show you today, if you can understand these deeply, then you can actually change the direction of that compounding effect or compounding effort that's taking place within your mind. And again, you get your mind working for you, not against you. The mind, for whatever reason, I believe it's a lot through evolutionary design, through our DNA. Like the other day, I was walking with my son, and I don't remember exactly what happened. It was maybe we got startled by something or whatever it was. We had this like kind of biological response, and I stopped. I'm like, yo, dude, why did that happen? Like, how do we know that was just like something we should do in this moment? Like, we've never experienced that before. I'm like, it's because it's in our DNA, right? Why does a deer know that it should run when it sees you, right? That's been passed on for generations. And so think about your brain has a lot of the same primitive kind of design. And also throughout your life, you experience different traumatic events. And the way the brain grabs these events is it turns them into what I've talked about before, is these short stories designed to protect you, but left on guard and unnoticed, these stories can actually push you further away from what you want and get you, that's not the life you want to live. So what's taking place here? As you implement these strategies, what I really want to do with you or help you do is understand, like, okay, we have this loud ocean, these chaotic waters, but how do we move you to calmer seas? If we could just get your mind to these calmer seas, what is the quality of your life going to take on now? When you have a quiet mind, you have a clear mind, don't you? And you start to think differently, you react differently, you behave differently. And literally that's one of the main things is you go from this chaotic water of reactivity, so you're reacting to everything around you, to responding to your environment and situations around you. And the example I use in my upcoming book is I say, imagine a situation where someone is upset with you and they say, hey, I'm pissed off about this. You did that. One is there's another concept that we'll have to talk about at some point, but it's probably going to like poke at your ego. And so when you have a strong ego, which we'll talk about in the future, whether that's good, bad, indifferent, there's just a texture to it. It's going to poke at your ego. And so you're naturally going to want to defend your ego, the way you see yourself, your self-image. And when you do that, you're probably going to react. And that reactivity is going to come back and sound like, fuck you. And when you do that, what's going to happen? The textures of your relationships change, and not for the better, don't they? And so what we want to do is we want to learn to respond in situations. Someone says something and you can chew it, you can digest it and go, okay, I hear you. But actually the way I want to show up and I want to like communicate back to you is this way. And maybe it's with some, like, it's okay to show your teeth. Maybe it's with some like, hey, that's not cool. This isn't fair, right? Or it's just seeing what's actually going on. Maybe their ego has been rubbed a little bit. You go, hey man, I didn't mean it like that. What I meant was X, Y, and Z. But what I want you to understand, and most importantly, to get there, you have to do what? You have to become the observer of your thoughts. And so that's an entire concept in itself. This is the main thing you have to grasp first as we move into these calmer waters. How do you become the observer of your thoughts? Well, first we have to create an understanding that you are not your thoughts, are you? So think about that just for a second. Let that download and digest. For some of you, that might make perfect sense. You get that. For others, if you're like me, that was an entire new realization at one point. I'm like, wait a second, I am not my mind. I'm observing my thoughts. And at first, it'll be like in little moments. You'll kind of notice these little breaks where you're like, dude, I'm chewing, or I'm ruminating. I'm chewing on this like downward spiral. I'm doing that. Well, who's noticing that? It's the observer. It's the witness. So start to understand that your mind is a tool, a very powerful tool. But what we're going to do as we become the observer, we're going to think of ourselves as the gardener. I want you to think of yourself as the gardener of your mind. Now, the mind is a beautiful thing. It's this beautiful garden. But if you let weeds grow in that garden, what starts to happen? Those weeds can actually take over the garden. And so I even mentioned this in my book as well. For me, when I first started going into this, I was like, wait, there's like a whole bunch of shit in here that ain't good. That's because I was the gardener and I never pulled the weeds out. And so I went on a journey to understand what those weeds are and how to remove those weeds. So again, think of this as our metaphor, going from those choppy waters to a calmer sea. And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to learn to be the witness, the gardener, and get rid of these weeds. And so how do you do that? You observe, you witness the thoughts, you calm the mind, and you start to notice first, probably patterns. You just need a little bit of stillness. This doesn't mean you have to sit like a monk, and do this perfect meditation. You can do this while you're cleaning, while you're driving. You just kind of feel into your body. And often what I've realized is the body first will tell you what's going on. So what that means is, like, I notice, for example, at times I'll wake up and I'm like, my hands are squeezed, right? And so, like, I remember this for a whole season of my life. My hands were like very tight. And it felt like I was embracing for the day, like impact. Like, oh, here we go. I'm like, damn, what is that? So I'd wake up and I kind of do this scan of my body. Like, I'm tense. What am I feeling? What's going on? What am I thinking about? Because something in my mind is causing my body to react, to prepare and brace for impact, right? But I notice the body first. So I'm like, oh, something's going on. I'm tight. I'm tense. And so I start to go into that. I feel into it. Remember, that's a word we're going to use a lot. You feel into it and you go, wait a second. Okay, I'm a little worried about this thing I have going on today. Let's go a little bit deeper. Maybe it's a meeting you have. I'm worried about this meeting or this project I didn't get done. Well, what does that mean to me? If I don't do it, what is the story I'm telling myself about that? The story I'm telling myself is I might lose my job. So-and-so won't like me. This, could lead me into being homeless, whatever. You'll see like these rabbit holes the mind goes down. So you witness your thoughts. Again, the mind is just a tool, but it's like, think of it as it'd be much better in the passenger seat than the driver's seat. But if you're not witnessing, you're not allowing yourself to be the gardener or the observer, it will take the driver's seat for you. It's like, I got this. But it's kind of like a chaotic, crazy driver. It's like, I got this, dude. Let me drive. But they don't know how to drive yet. It's like a 13-year-old, 12-year-old student driver. And so you have to become the actual driver, the observer, and set it over that passenger seat. Then it's a very good tool. You can use it for what you want. Now, you'll notice a variety of patterns, right? So some that I've been chewing on recently is as I sit, I get stillness. I notice tension in my body. I start to notice my mind is doing, this is a concept I like to call future casting. And so my mind is, almost constantly future casting. It's looking into the future. Like, what about this? What does this mean? What are we going to create? And we need to get this done. It's like future, 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 future. And so when you're in the future, are you in the present? Of course not. So you have to come back to the present moment. But it's a pattern. It's like a habit. Think of this too. You understand addictions, right? The example I use with like addictions is literally think about sugar. If you have sugar at 6 o'clock tonight, strangely, around 6 o'clock tomorrow, you're going to desire sugar again, aren't you? And so your mind is very similar. So if you drive to work at 9 a.m. and you're fighting traffic, and then let's say you go from driving to work and now you work remote or it's the weekend. Around 9 a.m., your brain is still going to desire to fight traffic. Kind of trippy, right? Just because it's like negative doesn't mean it won't grab addiction patterns, but it will. It gets addicted to these lower level thought patterns. And so again, we have to become the gardener. We have to pull these weeds. So we observe these thoughts. So again, for me, I noticed this future like pattern of like predicting the future. And remember, when the mind is trying to predict the future, it's not in the present. And that's where it's grabbing this information is the past, right? You don't want to do that. Past is dead. It's gone. You're different now than you were even yesterday. And so we come back in the present moment. We pull these weeds and we don't go, we go to ourselves, okay, no future passing. I'm right here. I'm just observing these thoughts. I'm in the present moment and everything starts to slow down. Even do it with me right now. I want you to just kind of grab a little bit of that stillness, a little bit of quiet in the mind. Feel into your body. Notice the tension maybe you're carrying, right? Probably in your neck, probably in your shoulders. That, we carry the weight of the world on our shoulders is a real expression, I believe, because that's actually where you'll grab a lot of tension. You just feel like this tension, this tightness. And again, we model nature. The things in nature that are stiff, that are tight, that are rigid are the things that are dying. The things that are loose and flexible are the things that are full of life and living. And so you want to bring that energy into your body, this calm, relaxed, loose energy. Now, as you do this, you get some powerful benefits, don't you? You become into the present moment, and that is where life exists. It's nowhere else, right? It's right now. Like anything good you ate, the sex you had, the fun you played here, whatever it was, doesn't exist unless you're doing it right now. That's oftentimes the things we crave. We want to have these experiences, but they don't exist. The only thing that exists is the right now. Unless you can grab those textures, you're not really grabbing them, are you? So you can be alive, but are you truly living? And so coming into these calm seas is learning the art of actual living, because you're creating a reality based out of what you want. And you're developing a palate to taste it, right? Because you're here, you're in the now. And so we're coming back, we're quieting the mind. Another thing you'll notice, some of those weeds in the garden, is a desire to seek validation that says, I am enough. Show me that I'm enough. That's a huge, massive inner dialogue that's going on in most humans that I've found, unless you have like really, really incredible parents, like really incredible. I've noticed a few people who like kind of naturally have that solved. But unless you're like most people, right? Your parents did their best, but you're going to have this deep inner dialogue. It's a human desires to be loved. And that's a beautiful thing. That's okay. But left unguarded, that voice can get really loud. And so it's always seeking validation. I mean, just look at social media. And this is no jab, right? Like, I mean, I use social media, you use social media, but most of what's put on social media is a taking energy, right? Look at me doing this. Look at me doing that. Now there can be value to that. That's okay. But in general, what it is, it's an example of show me that I'm enough. And when you're trying to answer that question, it's very hard for you to give value. But what you really ideally want to move into in your life is be a person who can give value and give it freely. That's going to change the texture of your reality, of your relationships, and so many other things. So how do you do that? How do you get into this giving state? Well, you'll notice that's one of the ways of the mind. It's always seeking validation. And so it might show up like, I'm doing this thing, or I want to show off in this certain way, or I self-qualify in this way, or I'm looking for someone to show me that I'm enough here. And it's always seeking this validation type of energy. But you don't have freedom of choice when that's taking place necessarily, because you're doing it from someone else's approval, right? Maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's a friend, whatever it is. And so you can quiet those voices and go, I'm enough as I am. I've always been enough. I am worthy. Again, that's cleaning the weeds in the garden. You get a calm mind. And now everybody's going to deal with that differently. If you have abandonment issues is a poor word, right? Abandonment, like challenges, you were abandoned as a child, that might show up in a certain way. And that voice might be really loud. For some people, maybe seeking validation is not as big of a deal, right? But for others, if you have like any sense of that, it'll be very strong oftentimes. It'll be a loud driver in your voice, in your reality. Now it can create some good things, because you might do stuff seeking others' approval that become really cool and really help you out in life. But it becomes a superpower when you can match the energy, when you can heal it and go, and I also enjoy this, right? I play sports because I actually enjoy them, and it gives me validation as a side note. That would be a healthy frame versus I just do this to get validation, but I actually hate this thing, right? I do this job because I get validation, but I freaking hate it, right? And so you move into this like more centered frame where you do things for you. And then that's where your superpowers unlock. Because then you really explode into that energy, that gift that God gave you, that Creator gave you. And so we're quieting the mind, we're pulling these weeds and getting a clear thought pattern, and everything starts to subside. Lastly, I want to share with you one more powerful insight on how you can understand this more. It's the notion of triggers. And so triggers are like, when you understand triggers, you can really use them as a tool. Like I remember getting triggered, And what that means, if you're not familiar with the word trigger, is it's like, I always say it makes like a level 2 situation, something that's very small, level 2 or 3 situation, to you feel like a level 10. As an example, as if you don't know, you'll learn in my new book coming out soon. I talk a lot about my past, where I had a very successful business, lost that business, had to file for bankruptcy. And so I had a lot of trauma around finances for quite a while. Now, left unguarded, right? If left unnoticed, I was reacting like I talked about earlier. I just react to situations. And I remember one day, like, I bought this like $100 product for my business, and it was the wrong product. And it was $100, right? Like, all right, it's $100, whatever. But it was, you would have thought my world ended. I was like, no, I made the wrong decision. Oh no, $100, I blew it. Everything's going to collapse. I'm going to end up back like I was in bankruptcy. Oh, it felt that real to me. But as I understood that that was a trigger, it became a tool, became a mechanism, and therefore medicine on how to heal it. So I would notice these things. I go, oh, wow, I'm like overreacting. $100, I'll make that back. But what's the story I'm telling myself? The story I'm telling myself is, I'm an idiot. How could I do that? Oh, those are really like aggressive voices. Where did I pick up those? Is that the truth? Am I an idiot? Am I always an idiot? Remember, for something to be a truth, it has to be true 100% of the time. Now, I'm an idiot quite often, but not 100% of the time. And so as I understood that, I could calm those voices. I could change the texture of those things. I could quiet the charge behind them. And so therefore, when I made a mistake again, because I'm motherfucking human, right? Aren't you? We make mistakes. The only thing that don't make mistakes are robots, and I am a fucking robot. And so as I calm these voices, calm the charge behind them, they kind of started to go away because they weren't getting any reactivity out of me. And so then pretty soon, I could start to develop a life out of what I desired and what I wanted versus out of my fears. Those reactions were my fears speaking. And so therefore, I'm creating a reality and taking my actions based on those fears. That's not what I want. That's not what you want. You want to create a life that you desire. So you calm these voices through your triggers. You understand these moments where you overreact and go, what am I telling myself here? I'm telling myself that I have to be perfect. I'm telling myself that I'm tight. I'm in control, right? I'm in control of everything. Control is attention. Letting go and releasing is a relaxation. As you move through life, life will take moments of control, but most often it's going to actually take release, letting go, flowing, allowing, moving with it, learning from situations. Everything will be okay. I'm good. The world isn't going to collapse. And if it does, guess what? I'll figure it out. Like, I'll figure it out. You just keep going back. I'll figure it out. That'll be okay too. That'll be all right. Right? The mind is trying to create these definitions. If I lose my house, my world will collapse. If I lose my job, oh no. If I lose this person in my life, oh no. But you might have pain points around that. You'll figure it out. You'll be okay. So you remind yourself of that. You condition the mind to have this looser grip and less control. You can control, but you let go of the rest. You allow, you flow with it. And then once you get more comfortable with those triggers, you use them as tools, as medicine. Each one of them is a tool, is an insight. It's actually beautiful. Anytime you get triggered, change your relationship with it. Like, thank you. I'm glad this happened in my life. This adds value to me, and it's an opportunity for me to learn and heal this deeper wound. Then what starts to take place is you actually go look for triggers. You actually go look to get triggered. I remember going to I'd go out to like a nightclub, and I'd go in there. Maybe I'd feel like I was an older person in the nightclub, and I'd go there and I would invoke a trigger. I wanted to go in these environments. I would invoke a trigger, and I'd feel this energy like, uh-oh, should I be here? Is it okay for me to be here? But then I'd go into my mind and I go, am I allowed to be here? Absolutely. Can I add value to this situation? As someone who's got experience? Absolutely. Am I someone who understands good emotions? Can I bring those good emotions to this environment? Absolutely. Am I allowed to freaking dance? I like to dance. I like to play. I like to have fun. Absolutely. So therefore, I'm allowed to be here. And it would change that in an instant, right? And then that becomes an opportunity, a gift to me. So I'd seek out other situations to go get triggered, and it would just take me into myself, an inward-facing journey. Notice that's big, right? An inward-facing journey versus an outward-facing journey. I'm using the outer reality to develop my inner reality. And as you develop your inner reality, think of it like a tree. For a tree to grow tall, it has to grow deep roots, doesn't it? So you're using this reality outside of you to grow deep roots. And with these deep roots, then naturally your outer reality starts to grow. You let go of the outer reality. It'll take care of itself. Still do things, right? Still challenge yourself, have goals, ambitions, stuff like that. But the journey is actually an inner journey. It's growing those deep roots. I hope you found this helpful. There's some deep stuff. So if you stayed with me this long in this video, congratulations, because it means you're ready and willing to go deep, and you are a deep person. And man, it's a journey to peace. It's a journey to happiness. It's a journey to freedom. And what I learned is that when we seek those things outside of ourselves, they're always moving further away from us. And so really to grasp those deeper qualities, those deeper textures of life, let it become internal first. Let it be an inward journey first. And then those experiences outside of yourself, they're not as important. Doesn't mean you don't still move towards those things. Like, go get what you want in life. Be a beautiful reality. But when you already got on the inside, it's easier, right? I mean, it's just the truth, right? When you take something off the pedestal, it comes towards you faster. If it's on the pedestal, it's always going to be further away. So if you're waiting for freedom, for peace, security to be out here, outside of you, it's always going to be away and running from you. So bring that to your inner reality, and I think it's going to change the texture of your life. And I love you so much. If you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff so you can stay in the know. I'm going to continue to develop these concepts over time for you in this actual show that I'm sharing live here with you guys, and bring on some guests and everything. So you're going to make sure you're in the know how. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Go ahead and do it right now. I love you so much. And until next time, peace.